Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another episode of DigiTopics. So today I'm going to be talking about skillless cards, or more commonly referred to as vanilla cards. What a lot of card games are doing with these vanilla cards is they are to help teach the players about card analysis and evaluation, and they generally do this by obviously using these vanilla cards to act as that baseline for a point of reference to start teaching them that. But Digimon, being a completely different game than a lot of the other games in terms of how the whole game is just being ran in general, it has some different applications on how they apply their vanilla cards. And they actually try to make their vanilla cards playable, even though they don't have any effects or abilities. So they generally do this in three different ways. So the first way is a value Digimon to either play or digivolve into, a value Digimon to just play and not necessarily want to digivolve into it, or a value Digimon to digivolve into and not one you necessarily want to play. And the same pattern follows throughout the different stages. So an example of a value Digimon to play and digivolve into would be something like Elecmon, where they have an initial low cost to play, an initial low cost to digivolve into, and then they generally have a low DP as a result. Where something you'd rather play and not necessarily digivolve into would be something like Muchomon, where they have a general low cost to play, a high cost to digivolve in contrast to the rest of the cards in their level, and they usually will have a higher DP as a result. And then a Digimon you'd rather digivolve into would be something like Vorvomon, where they have a high initial cost but a lower evolution cost in comparison to the rest of their level. And they usually will have a high DP as a result because they want you to digivolve into it. So again, this pattern can be seen throughout the different stages. Numemon is a great example of a value Digimon to play and to digivolve into because of his low cost and low evolution cost, all again in comparison to his level. Gatomon is a great example of another card you would rather play rather than digivolve into, because in comparison to the Digivolution cost, it's a little on the higher side, but the initial cost to play the card is lower, with some decently sized for its level. And then Gorillamon is another great example of a Digimon where you just want to digivolve into him and you don't really want to play him because his digivolve cost is rather low compared to his initial cost, with some rather high DP to accommodate it. And then in the Ultimates, we have Sirenmon, where, again, low initial cost to play, low initial cost to digivolve into, and as a result, low DP, but it's just great to act as a solid base to start whatever you want to do. Megadramon is another one where you'd rather play it rather than digivolve into it because of its relatively low cost in comparison to the rest of its stage level, and its rather high DP. And then Megas, for the most part, are the only exception because they are obviously the final stage, and as of right now, all of the Megas are rather the same, where they incentivize you to digivolve into it because digivolving into it is really, really cheap in comparison to just playing the card, and its DP is relatively high in comparison to a lot of other Megas. But that's not to say that they won't make any cheaper costed Megas in the future, because we do have a couple of Digimon where they do require Megas to be played off. But the fact that Digimon is trying its hardest to make these vanilla cards playable is definitely something noteworthy, because a lot of other games generally don't try to make their vanillas playable, and they're just literally there to act as a reference point for card analysis for players, or depending on the game, they're really just draft filler for being draft filler. So that's kind of all I really have to say about vanillas. I think that vanillas are pretty good and definitely can see some experimentation, especially depending on how they treat vanillas going forward, because There are a lot of different aspects in Digimon that make a card playable, and its stat line definitely is a solid place to start, but naming convention is also another place where they could make a vanilla relevant because of its name. As always, feel free to leave a comment down below telling me your thoughts about what you think about vanillas in Digimon, or if you just want to leave a comment in general, you're more than welcome to do so. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content, and I will see you in the next video.